night change chat. Just wanted to pop on a little bit and have a quick conversation, talk about a couple of things that have come up here recently in my comment section. But first of all, just let me know if you can hear me, if everything is working correctly, if I am coming through loud and clear. Just want to be able to know what all we've got going on. So, uh, get the live chat up here. So we should be able to see you all if you come in. And, wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of comments that I had here recently on the channel. And, it's one of those things where, I get comments all the time. I respond to every one of them. I will respond to this comment, this duo of comments personally online. I guess I should put my microphone up closer here. So, yeah, just let me know if you can pop in. All right, Parm, good to see you. Thanks for letting me know it sounds good. Appreciate that. Let me know too. This is also Riverside, which is a new streaming platform that I'm using and trying out. So let me know if everything looks good. Looks like it sounds good, and I appreciate that. But like I said, for tonight, there are a couple of things that I kind of wanted to address in my comment feed that have come through, and it's about kind of the utility and maybe whether or not e-ink is useful. And I think you all know that I find it very useful. I know that some people have different comments or different ideas about whether or not it's useful for them. And I think that's where this comment and these two comments come from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that up on the screen and kind of take a look at these in real time and reply to, or not reply, kind of talk through them. And then, of course, I'll reply offline as well. But let me see if I can pop this up so it's easier to see these. And we'll see if I can get it popped up on the screen here. Just a second. And let me try the screen share and see how that works. Again, this is a new platform I'm using, so give me just a minute to try to set that up. So if I go here to layouts and see if we can pop this up, share my screen. Entire screen, and should be this one here. Thanks for bearing with me on this. Let's see if this works. And it looks like it did. So again, let me know. We'll kind of talk through all of this. But I want to highlight this question right here, or this comment right here. So Matt had mentioned that he didn't like the V Woods or the Supernote Manta, and this is in reaction to why I was returning the V Woods. RA New Remarkable was too limited, nothing more than digital paper, which I give him credit for staying true to the roots. So I think that was a good observation. And this is the part that really interests me, and I want to kind of throw it out to the group. So if you all have opinions on this, would like to address it, I think it's important to talk through this part. So it says, even after watching so many of your videos and learning so much, I found e-ink to be excellent at feeling like paper, but that was it. They're incredibly slow, often miss commands. Even in review videos, you can see the misclicks, needed repeats of attempted commands, and not actually very fast at being able to organize notes, especially when measured against a true note app. We can acknowledge while the primary focus of handwriting, you will you still cannot type on them accurately at all, even in a pinch, because the processing is so slow. For example, email compose feature on the Manta should not even be offered. It's so bad. And lest readers not have been aware, you cannot even create a note in the partner app and sync it to the device, which seems like the most basic of all features to have on a note storage device. Point is, devices simply are way more niche in practice than these very awesome review videos indicate. As he states in one of his videos, if you're fighting the technology to be productive, it's not ideal. Just know what you're getting into. So I'm curious what you all think of that. And so we're starting with this, and I am not throwing any shade at all on this comment or on this review. I think, or on this commentary on one of my videos. I think it's important to understand that there are limitations to these devices and that there is, I'm trying to switch my view here so that I'm back on my main camera. Oh, I got to stop sharing here. So I think it is important to realize that there are limitations to these platforms. I want to be very clear about that. But I also think that that's pretty clear if you're entering the space and you watch different videos. So I want to be real careful in saying that there's no utility or it's overstated. In my view, it's not. I have been very productive in using these devices for 4.5 years, over 4.5 years now. And I've gone completely away from paper. I don't use paper for anything. And I do believe there's a lot of interoperable functionality with your computer. I would also say that this is, a little bit, maybe it depends how long ago you were using the devices, because the typing experience has gotten exceedingly better on the Supernote, for example, when you use a Bluetooth keyboard or when you use some other type of wired keyboard. And it just keeps getting better. Books also has a pretty low latency, so you can type on these devices now. And I think that the email integration, it depends. I mean, you can use the type keyboard now to type with that, and it works really well. I personally like to handwrite if I use the email function, although I use it mostly as a reference. So a lot of this comes down to what are you using the tool for and why? And how are you using that tool? So to me, I think the heart of this question and the reason it's so important is what are you expecting from the device? Not being able to create a note on the app, that is a real limitation. It's different. But at the same time, I don't know that that's the point because you can take these off. You can convert them to text, you can convert them to Word documents, you can pull them into other apps like Obsidian, which is a straight note taker. So there are ways to start with the handwriting and then move that off device to do other things. But I'm very interested in what you all think as far as this, because to me, it's worth considering how important this is to you and whether you see it as a deal breaker as to why you wouldn't want to have an e-ink device. And is it really that niche to where it's not in widespread use? I think there's an argument to be made that it's a growing market and that it is something that could really be beneficial to a lot of people. So fire into the chat. Let me know what you think. What do you think of this comment? And there was another comment by the same user on a different video, and I want to pull that one in as well, because again, I think these are valid points. I'm not attacking the point. What I'm trying to do is explain why I disagree with it, which I will also do when we get when I reply, as I always do to the comments in text. So let's see here. Tony says, and let me see if I can show this. A person getting into e-ink needs to know that it is niche and also have a very specific plan on how they want to use it. Oh, sorry, that didn't stay up very long. For Supernote specifically, if you don't like handwriting, it's not for you. Tony, I think that's a great point, and I think that that may be what this person was getting at, was that you really just need to know what you're getting into. And Parm also says, let's see if I can show this here. A lot of reasons I went with e-ink. I work a lot of direct sunlight, battery life, writing feel, eye strain, paper replacement, avoiding mindless scrolling, and cool factor to name a few. And I think there is a cool factor actually to having one of these tablets, because you're not just using pen and paper, but all of those other reasons I think are valid too and really important. And I don't think the latency and the things you give up are as bad as this comment makes it out to be. Now, again, perfectly valid argument, perfectly valid reasoning. I don't think that they're necessarily wrong for them and for the way they feel about it. I think what to me gets lost a little bit is that in some way me specifically, because it is a comment on my video, are overstating the importance or overstating the utility of the device. I truly believe that this has been a game changer for me in the way I work. It has made me more productive in so many ways that I never would have even thought of had I not had one of these devices. I didn't like writing on an iPad, even though that's more powerful and more seamless. And I think that's what's interesting here. Let's see another comment here. See if we can show this. People are always showing interest when they see one. Yes, that's true. I think whenever someone sees my tablet, they ask me about it and ask me what it is. David, good to see you. Welcome aboard. E-ink devices excel at being eye-friendly and provide very nice handwriting experience. In addition, they give you the ability to manipulate your handwriting, search it, tag it, create keywords and links. Absolutely. Also, I'm an advocate of having an iPad first and then on e-ink devices for these specific use cases. Yeah, and I think that gets to the heart of this conversation, which is what are you expecting the e-ink device to do? And this user struggled with that. That idea that even after seeing the videos, even after diving into it and learning about the platform, it wasn't right for them. And I think that's perfectly, again, valid and a concern that is something that should be talked about and should be talked about in the space. And I think a lot of us do. I think Voya, Kit, myself, David, you've done this. Aaron has done this. There's a lot of talk around what is this for? What am I using it for? What does it replace? What are the different things that I can use it for? And what are the things it's just not good at? And I think that's why it's really important. But I do want to talk really quick about one other thing, uh, which was the second comment by the same user on a different video. And it had to do with my digest video. And so hold on, let me pull that one up. And then we will share that. So let me get that paused and I'll share my screen again. It's taking a little bit to load. So give me just here. All right, so let me share this again. And I'm still learning this software. Let me know what you all think of this experience. This is called Riverside. So I saw some demos on it and it looked really interesting to me. And so I'm piloting it just to see if I like it and if it's something that I want to keep. And so let me pop this screen up real quick and then pop in over here. And so this was the other one. So when I was talking about the digest as a cross-platform device, and I mentioned, being able to add text in, being able to write, use it on your phone, use it on, your Windows machine, your Mac machine, Android, iOS, all these different ways to use, add text into the digest. I started talking about this idea of cross-platform. And this user here said cross-platform, not even close. As of October 25, Supernote will not even let you create a note. I don't know about the all caps there on desktop or mobile. You can only create a digest as shown, which is to most users not useful. So for a device called Supernote, and not being able to create a basic note on your computer or phone is certainly not cross-platform. And I'm curious what you all think about that. For me, I think it is still cross-platform in that you are using the device on multiple platforms for what it is designed to do. Now, Remarkable, going back to the earlier comment about Remarkable not doing a lot of things feature-wise, you can create a note, not a handwritten note, but you can create a note, a text note on the Remarkable device, and you can create it within their app with their Connect subscription. Supernote, I think, is moving that direction. Right now, you can create a note in the digest, and you can create a digest entry and add in typed text. And I think that the first version of the digest may not have been as useful. This new version is very useful. And this is from someone who didn't really use the original digest. So I think it's, to me, I've seen that growth. Also, it's important to point out and to note that you can create a document file on your computer and then move it to your Supernote, and it opens the same way. So you can create it within that file structure. But points well taken, and I think Supernote, hopefully at some point, and even books might consider allowing their apps to truly create note files or other text files on the app and being able to manipulate that some way, similar to what Remarkable does. But again, fire into the comments. I'm curious to hear what you all have to say about this. Do you agree, disagree? Am I way off base? Do you see this as a cross-platform app? I think really the main cross-platform functionality I was talking about was to be able to use and engage with the material and the information cross-platform. And I think that this allows you to do that in what I consider to be a very good way. So just curious, pop in, ask any questions, uh, let me know what you think. It's definitely one of those things where there's a lot going on uh, in the space right now. Supernote just dropped a new beta where they are addressing several things with the digest, also allowing you to now link notes across the SD card and the main storage, effectively allowing you up to almost 2 terabytes worth of extra storage. Now, what I have noticed just in the early testing, and I don't know how they'll deal with this, but right now you can create all of those links. And if you move it to the SD card, it will retain the link back to the document on device. You can create a link from a document on the SD card to a main drive note, but you can't create a new link from something on the device to the SD card. So that sounds complicated and weird, and it is a little bit hard to kind of think through, but that's because for some reason, when you pull up the linking menu, the SD card is not an option. So again, pop in. What do you all think of that? That's uh, Carl Munford, who had been a longtime channel participant, has been asking for this for a long time because he does a lot of notation and a lot of different things. And I think being able to expand that capacity to link across the SD card, even though I probably will never use it, is a huge win for people using the device. And Parm says, let me see if I can show this on the stream. Did you hear the news that Remarkable quietly changed the return policy from 100 days to 50? I think it must have something to do with the return rate of the move. Wow, no, I didn't, Parm. I can't imagine them not doing the 100-day return policy since it's kind of a staple of what it is to be remarkable. That's interesting to me. I'll have to look it up and confirm it. I mean, not that I doubt you, but I just uh, wonder why they would do that. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe the move's getting returned, but I've heard a lot of positive comments on the move. So I don't know. And David says, when I heard cross platform, my mind went to partner app being available on virtually all platforms. But it sounds like the viewer was expecting to have the Supernote experience off device. Yeah. And I think, David, I think that's part of it. And to be fair, a lot of it is off device. So the to-do list comes right into the app. And so you can create, check off, use to-dos. The digest functionality comes directly into the app. So you can create, you can modify, you can do a lot of the things in the app that you can also do on device. But what you can't do, and what none of these platforms, with the exception of Remarkable, do, is create a note on your computer and then have that be also on the device. And so I'm not sure down the line how that's going to change, but I think it's definitely worth noting that that's a limitation currently on these devices. And again, it comes back to that central question: in what are you expecting the device to do? And if you are expecting it to be an iPad replacement or a high powered computer, I think you're going to be disappointed. And that's why I'm really glad that these two comments came up. And like I said, I'll respond offline as well and in text. But I thought it warranted a conversation because of the fact that I don't agree with the premise that these devices are only a niche product anymore. I think they were, and I think they're still somewhat niche. But when you have large players, Remarkable now has a lot of users. You have a huge following that's coming with Kindle. You have, these new Kindles, I think, are going to really push it even further. Books is gaining. Supernote, I think, is really pushing the boundaries of what this is able to do. All of that, I think, is really important. And then let me see here. Tony says, I think the commenter is confused and generalizing any device as Supernote is a replacement for paper, for a paper notebook. It's not a books. Well, I don't think Supernote is just a replacement for a paper notebook. I think it offers some more functionality in the reader department, having cross-platform apps that work on multiple devices. But I would agree with you, Tony, that it is primarily about replacing paper notes. And I think the true paper replacement, though, is Remarkable, because that one offers even less functionality as far as this idea of linking. Supernote to me takes the paper notebook to a much enhanced level of being able to connect notes, link notes, add tables of contents, really mark up PDFs and everything. A lot of the things books also does, very much in that same vein. And there's Aaron. Great to see you, my friend. Great live stream last night. Really appreciate you jumping into the space. I watched the beginning of it earlier today, and it was so great to see you all having that conversation. I think that's really a good time. But I really do think that this is a worthwhile conversation, which is why I decided to do it live. And let's see here. Parm says, I think they all replace paper. They start there, then figure out what bells and whistles you want. 100%, Parm. I think to me, that is the main driver here. There is not one e-ink tablet that you can buy. Well, I don't want to say that. There's not one ecosystem that can't pretty much replace uh, paper. Now, I think there are limitations in how well that it does that, and I think that's what's important to realize. Remarkable is mainly just going to do that. Some of the other ecosystem devices, I'm testing the Pocketbook. It's much harder to see as a full paper replacement, but at the core, without linking, without anything like that, still, if you want to write on a screen instead of writing on paper, you can do that with almost any of these devices. It's much harder to do that on an iPad. Yes, you can write on an iPad, but it's a glass, slick screen, and it's not going to feel, and none of these feel like paper, but they feel paper like. So they feel less like glass and more like you're writing on something else. And I think that's what's important. And David at Tablet Tech did a great comparison. I remember that one so much because he was writing with different types of markers and pens and on different types of materials. And that was one of my favorite videos because there is no paper like feel. But the closest thing to me has been either the Remarkable or the Supernote feels to me like a bed of paper, like a legal pad that still has several layers left with a ballpoint pen. That's what it feels like to me when I write with it. So, so Aaron, just to catch you up really quick, and you can go back and watch the live stream, but I had comments from a user, and I wanted to reply to those live because I thought they were really important about this central use case and whether it was valuable to have an e-ink device or whether it was so niche that it really isn't functional and that it's so slow, it slows you down. And I think part of that's intentional. These aren't supposed to be speed demons. And at least in my estimation, this is supposed to help you slow down, help you think through problems, think through how you're intentionally writing things down. Then, when you need to get to the speed demon stage or you need to get to the high power processing stage, yes, some of them can do a little bit of that, especially with books. But most of the time, you're going to take that off device. You're going to go into a note taking app like Notion or Obsidian or something else, OneNote. And that's where you're going to see that power for other things you can do. And Aaron says, I think for a true paper replacement, I don't need the ability to have links, just a file structure and good writing service. No, I agree, Aaron. I think for the paper replacement, you're 100% right. And I think though, then you get into the conversation about price and cost to value and all of that. It's why I stay with the Supernote platform for my main driver because it offers so many other value adds. And I can justify the price for that. Books, I think, is the same way. The additional things you get on top of that paper replacement is worth that cost differential. I'm not sure that Remarkable is. I think right now the Remarkable 2 is actually a steal. If I saw it right, I think it's down to around $399. If I remember right, I think David at Tablet Tech did some comparison there, and it's actually a decent value. Now it's an older screen technology, but it's still selling and it's still good. And that's the thing. Is it good? And is it good enough for what you want it to do? So a lot of good things to think about here. Well, anyway, everybody, I just wanted to jump online. I wanted to reply to these comments and bring it up to the community just to ask you all what you thought about it. Also, please like, subscribe, uh, ding the notification bell. I've got several reviews in the mix, but I wanted to hop on here tonight and just kind of address these two comments live. I think it's a good conversation to have. But drop down in the comments, what did you think about this platform, Riverside, which is the one that I'm testing for this live stream? And also, keep this debate going and this conversation happening. Are there people who really think that this is such a niche technology and it's not worth the time and the bother of using a device like this? Even if it is, you know, even if there is a lot of good content and you learn about it and you still don't like it, there's nothing wrong with that. Had this not been the thing for me, I would have went back to paper and pencil. And I think Kit, last thing I'll say on this, Kit said that you'll know whether or not e-ink is for you if you go to reach for it rather than a pad of paper. To me, that means you've crossed that line. You've gotten over that mental block. And for me, I think it's completely what it is for me. 4.5 years in, I've not touched a pad of paper unless it was an emergency and I didn't have my ink device. And on top of that, it does so many other things, which is why I'm on the Supernote platform. The idea of researching and the new digest and the way that works and the potential for how they're going to do the calendar, it's just, it works for me in a way that keeps me minimalist but connected enough. And I think that's a key indicator here of whether it's going to be successful for you. What do you need it to do? Does it do those things? And if it does, whether or not it does them without friction. Because the user was 100% right. If the technology is getting in your way, I would never recommend it. If it's getting in the way of you being productive, this channel is about organizing and about productivity. I'm not going to recommend a device that I feel would get in the way for me. And then I would counsel people to think about that for you. A couple of last comments before I head out. David, thanks a lot. Everybody hit that like button. And then Aaron says, for people who don't really write, e-ink might not be a good fit for that person. 100%. If you don't like to handwrite, I think that's the key differentiator. And I love to handwrite because of the idea of that personal one-on-one connection between you and your uh, whoever you're having your meeting with. I don't like a screen in between me and them, and I think that's a big thing here. And Tony says, I have to disagree with Kit. There's nothing like writing with a nice fountain pen on premium paper. I still journal using that, but for practical research, hold on, it dropped off. For practical research, uses in annotating articles, ink. No, I don't think that Kit's saying don't still enjoy that writing experience on paper. I think even he says, I still love to write on paper. It's just not as useful to me in my work. So would I prefer to write with a nice pen on paper? 100%. And I think that Kit even mentioned drawing and how much more he enjoys that on parchment and a good parchment paper. So I 100% agree with you there, Tony, that this is more about how can you be more productive, more organized, and what can you do with that? Searchable text, searchable handwriting, searchable notes, just having them digital in the first place so that you can file them and put them somewhere, and you're not digging through papers and pads of paper and post-it notes and all those other things. So it's a huge value add if you ask me, even if you're just using it as a simple paper replacement with a file structure. I don't think there's any downside from a productivity standpoint if you can give up the tactile 100% paper feel. And hopefully that makes some sense. But thank you all for dropping into the chat. Thank you for the engaging debate. Thank you for your comments. Continue the conversation down in the comments. If you're rewatching this, thank you so much. If you haven't liked, subscribed, please do so. Like I said, tons of reviews coming out. I'm working on them, folks. I promise. But lots of things happening and looking forward to continuing this conversation as we go forward. But until next time, everybody, thank you so much. Have a great night. Keep moving forward, and I will talk to you soon. Bye now.